So just on a side note, you've written a number of these profile pieces on a number of cricketers. Has anyone reached out to you to say he didn't appreciate that piece as much, or he liked it too much, or some sort of complaint and some sort of grievances? Has anything of that sort ever happened?
Complaints. I mean, there's quite often just little things that they disagree with. I remember a very, very angry, big-time international cricket coming into my DMs one day to be like, "You got this wrong."
You're not going to name him.
No. He's a nice guy. He was angry at something I'd written that he thought was wrong. But it was quite funny. He picked one tiny fact in what was like a 4,000 word piece and said I was wrong. He said, but the general piece is fine. And I was like, okay. Look, I like to maintain a bit of a distance from cricketers, which is getting harder and harder because I know so many of them. If I had to write a feature about Stephen Finn, I could do it completely unbalanced. I can do it basically on his cricket and what had happened to him. If I knew him, it would not be the same piece. Now, in some ways, you could do better pieces, but they're also
some sort of bias. Yeah,
it's biased positively sometimes. It'll be biased negatively in other times.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might pull your punches, all those sorts of things. So I usually get to know them once they've finished their careers, and then, they take me aside and go, "Oh, I fucking hated that," or "I loved that," or "Thank you for that." So I have a slightly different relationship. There are very few cricketers. I tell you what, I remember, I will say him because I think he's a properly nice player. One of the first players to ever contact me after I wrote a big profile on him was Colin Ingram.
Okay.
I interviewed Colin for about 20. Yeah, I interviewed him for about 20 minutes. I was very interested in why he wasn't playing more in Major League Cricket when he was clearly one of the best batsmen in the world. I wanted to know more about his history. Very polite guy. He's not a brilliant person to interview because he's too nice. Just very nice and polite, proper, polite sort of country South African boy. But I wrote what I thought was quite a good piece. And the general, when we go back to that passion, then why was I passionate about writing about Colin Ingram? It's because I kept looking at him going, this is one of the best 12 T20 batsmen on earth. And he's not playing in the IPL and he's not playing in the major leagues enough. And that was where the passion came from. That's where I wanted to write the piece. But then, he got back in touch with me to say that he liked it. Certainly, I've had negative stuff. Not as much as you would think. I sort of live on the periphery of all these guys. Occasionally, you hear feedback from a third party who says, you might want to give them a thing. A few cricketers have said, they like the piece. Quite often I get contacted by cricketers' friends and coaches to say, really like that. I remember when I wrote the Nicholas Puran piece, one of his very good friends in cricket contacted me and was just like, I'm glad you wrote that. He deserves to be treated like that in that piece. But I think it's certainly something that's quite common now is people tagging the players into their pieces and people sending the pieces to the player or their agent or their family or their coach or whatever. I've never done that. So I don't know if you saw my video essay on Neil Wagner. But did this big video essay on him. I knew it was going to get back to Neil Wagner because I knew it was people don't spend that much time thinking about Neil Wagner, and suddenly I'd made a 20-minute video going into every detail of why he was successful. But I would never tag him into it. I knew that other people would do that, and I kind of allowed that to happen. I know that some of my very, very big pieces have been read by players themselves, but if they came up to me and talked to me about it, I would happily do that. But I would certainly never ask them what they thought about it. And I think that's the difference between me and some other people. I will say this. I wrote that big piece about Australian sportsmanship before the last World Cup. And a couple of former Australian cricketers reached out privately just to say, you know this, and this is why we're dicks when we don't need to be dicks, essentially. That one was a really special one for me because I knew that piece really upset a lot of people.
That hit home,
Yeah, I think that I remember there was one cricketer I bet he's a Sheffield Shield cricketer who literally said to me, my whole career, no one ever sledged me. And I was just like, that's just not true. Mate. It's impossible to play cricket in Australia and never be sledged. What you're thinking is sledging is being abused. I said, people are talking the whole time. But a lot of, as I said, a couple of other cricketers I really admire reached
I
out.
remember that piece. I read that piece. Yes.
Even
Lovely
recently,
piece,
I did a video that wasn't really about a player, but I could see why their team thought it was about that player, and they showed it to that player. So it was a T20 video. Again, a major player that when you make something like this, you don't really think they're going to look at it. And like one of their coaches said, "Oh, we just showed it to so and so that he gets some tips." And I was just like, "All right, cool. That's weird." But yeah, I try and stay away from all that. Again, there's a lot of people who get into sports writing and cricket writing because they want to hang out with players.
You're not there for,
I don't want to hang out with players. I know too many of my friends are players already or former players. Some of them are great and some of them are boring as batshit. Like it's just, I've never got that side of things. I think I've told this story before, but Martin Crowe and I both worked for ESPN, and Martin Crowe's my hero. I dressed like him when I played cricket. I tried to captain like him. I would have tried to bat like him if I had any of that talent. And he tried to become friends with me late in my career because he really liked my writing. We were working for Cricinfo. We spent some time together. And I couldn't be friends with Martin Crowe because he was Martin Crowe. Like there are a couple of people in my life I wouldn't be able to be friends with, like, you know, because of the influence that they had on who I became. And, you know, Martin Crowe, Quentin Tarantino, and probably Nick Cave are probably the three that I could never be friends with them. I'm too close to them.
Even if they wanted to.
Yeah. And so that's a completely different situation. Then there's a lot of people out there who just want to hang out with cricketers, and especially non-writers. You see a lot of guys that get into the media job, presenting jobs and social media jobs and that. They just want to hang out with players, and that's fine. I can see why they would want to do that. But the last 3 years, I have spent a lot of time with current and former players in my professional job. That's enough for me. I just, you know, I've been in a limousine with David Warner. Do you know what it was like? It was like being in a limousine with someone I didn't know that well. It's that's what it is. There's nothing wrong with Davey. I get along with him fine, but you know,
you're not.
I think we have. That's just not why I'm in the job, and that's not the case with everyone. So I think people you do see a lot of writers out there who tag in the players they're writing about, and sometimes I do if I feel like I had a bit of a connection with them in the interview. Or if there's something else going on, I might do it just so that they know that the piece is out there. And sometimes I'll do that. Like I wrote a big piece on Shaun Tate a couple of years ago. And it was a big piece. And I talked to like 25 people. And I knew no one else was ever going to write a piece as big or as in-depth about Shaun Tate as that one. So I sent it to him just to say, look, mate, it's out there now. People are going to be sending it to you. Here you go.
Was there a massive backlash when the Death of the Gentleman released? Did people